You shouldn't pay off your mortgage early, but you should live mortgage free. Hey, what's up guys? Hope you're all well. So I'm doing a video all about this really sensitive subject, which is paying off your mortgage early and living mortgage free. Let me start by making it very clear. The two are very, very different. And if you are anything like me, you are a victim of all the really clever algorithms out there that literally show me all of these different adverts for all the various property training coming out of the woodwork. And it seems to be really coincidental that a lot of these start their video with "don't pay off your mortgage." It's a fool's way to think that that's the best use of your money, and they really do emphasize on it. And I guess there is some truth to what they say. The problem is the people portraying the message for all of these training companies is they don't actually have a clue. And more importantly, they don't have the choice. They are forced down a road, forced into a mindset where they then justify their strategy, trying to convince others that it's the best route forward, as opposed to getting into a position of strength, one of my favorite words, and having the choice to do either or. This video is titled, "You shouldn't pay off your mortgage early, but you should live mortgage free." Now, a lot of you will be watching this, will be thinking that I'm going to be talking about a strategy to create money, to create cash flow, to pay the monthly mortgage so you effectively don't have to. And this is not what this video is all about. Even though that is a strategy you can consider, the reality is the tax implications to pay off a debt, a monthly mortgage payment that you are living in, never translate to the actual delivering the reality. They're collecting the cash flow and using it all to pay that debt. We are going to talk about why you shouldn't pay off your mortgage and how and why you should live mortgage free. And let's start with the first. Now, a lot of these property trainers and gurus and adverts hitting your Instagram and Facebook feeds are correct. It is really unwise to believe that working in a 9-to-5 job, getting a career and using every single bit of your spare money, savings, cash, whatever you want to call it, to pay down your mortgage, to turn it from a 35-year into a 25-year or a 20-year or a 15 or a 10-year, isn't going to be the best way to use your money. And if you're in that position, it's a very limited pot of cash that you have. So you need to get the maximum return. And you might be saying to me, well, Dan, look, that money sat in the bank is earning me next to nothing. And my mortgage interest rate is anything from 1% up to 3%. So it's like getting 3% on my money by paying off that mortgage early. And I guess in the most simplest terms, you would be correct. The problem is you are working and using every spare bit of money to pay down a large debt, which at the end of it will leave you with an asset completely mortgage free, but you've used all of your spare cash over a generation of 10, 20, 30 years, working in a job, working in a career, working for a large body, and you have no other alternative means of income because you haven't invested that money. You've used it to pay down your mortgage debt. So you'd be sitting there mortgage free, relatively asset rich, but in terms of cash flow and lifestyle, you'll be as poor as a piper. This is why that strategy doesn't work. And that's why I am saying do not try and pay down your mortgage early. And actually, in the early days, when you are starting off investment, if you have equity in your own home, the cheapest way and the easiest way to borrow money is going to be to gear up your own borrowing on your own home. So to increase your loan to value, to release equity and use that money to invest in property. But here's why you should absolutely try to become mortgage free. Now, paying off your mortgage in the former that I just explained is not the same thing. Trading yourself into a position of strength is something I like to say a lot, and it goes across multiple levels and platforms. And one of those levels, one of those platforms is your own residential position. Now, we all aspire, and especially if you're watching this video, and especially if you're looking to get started in property investment, we all aspire to have nice things and to achieve good results. And one of those nice things, measurement of results, whatever you want to call it, is your own home. And there are many different levels, happiness, time, all of those different things. I'm talking specifically about this one thing in this topic. And to continue to buy nicer properties, bigger properties, more expensive properties, you are going to be hit with larger amounts of stamp duty. And when you get up to the million, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3 million pound bracket, the stamp duty is horrendous. Let's forget interest on a mortgage for a second. Let's forget tax that you are saving when you eventually sell these properties, which is tax-free. The money that you are paying on stamp duty is horrendous. It is close enough, it is big enough to make you rethink your strategy on these levels of property. So buying properties at that higher value end to live in is a pretty good way of spending a lot of money on taxes. So how else can you achieve such results? And one of the ways is to build or convert an existing building or a commercial building into one of these high-end, large, expensive dwellings. And actually, instead of being a tax burden, this strategy is tax incentivized, because if you convert an old building, a disused building, a commercial building into a residential dwelling, you actually only have to pay 5% VAT. So let's forget the money that you're saving on the stamp duty for a second. Every single material, every single instruction that you give to a professional, you are saving 15% in terms of cash flow. And then you move into the dwelling, you can claim it all back. And even better, if you're building a brand new dwelling out of the ground, the VAT rate is 0. So there are multiple incentives in terms of tax and VAT for you to do this. The biggest incentive is the money that you are going to save and the position you're going to put yourself in. Now, if you could buy a piece of land, a disused property, a small property and a relatively big plot, whatever you want to call it, and you can add significant value for yourself to live in, you can very quickly trade yourself into one of the biggest positions of strength. And more importantly, being a property investor, being an entrepreneur, being a savvy business owner, you are going to do this in the most efficient way possible. You are going to use your skills. You are going to use your experience. You are going to use your contacts to ensure that you do this to the highest absolute standard for the lowest amount possible to achieving the biggest and best result. And if you can get yourself into a position through property investing, so you're living at home, you've got a mortgage on your home, you're not paying down that mortgage. Instead, you're using your equity, you're using your spare cash to invest, to generate income, to generate more gains when you sell property, to refinance money and lumps of cash out. Very quickly, you will find yourself in a position where you can buy these types of properties, unconverted, unbuilt, derelict, empty land, for relatively low costs. And you can do that with the cash that you've accumulated. And then once you get the plan and permission to do what you so desire, you can use the rest of your remaining cash to create a high-end GDV property, a property that you would pay tens, if not nearly hundreds of thousands of pounds in stamp duty to acquire yourself. And by doing this with your own cash, you will learn how to get the absolute best results for the leanest amount possible. And if you ever get into a position where you are running out of cash or you want to spend a bit more, guess what? You can go and do some more trading. You can go and do some more investing and generate some more cash and some more capital gains and some more income to help you along the way. You haven't got to do this within 6 months. It can take you 6 years if you like. But when you are done, And you are in a final position where you can live in the dwelling that you've created. And it is something spectacular, something far bigger, something far better than you would have ever bought yourself. You will find yourself in a position where you have a choice. And it's that choice that I mentioned right at the start of the video. And that choice is to then, if you want to, borrow money on your own home at a really cheap rate, because you can decide the loan to value, you can decide the interest rate. And the world, in terms of banks, is your oyster. Or because you've now learned how to trade and generate income, create good GDV, introduce of gains and capital gains and income, you may be in a position where you do not need to put a mortgage on your property, which I think is a really good idea. Because when you pay your monthly mortgage payment, you are paying that with taxed income. So whatever your mortgage payment is, 100, 500, 1,000, 2,000 pound a month, and you pay that every single month, you're using money that you've already paid tax on. So you've earned more money, you've paid 20, 40, 50% tax on this money, and then you're using it to pay down a debt that you may not need to have. And reducing your personal costs means that you do not need to earn as much. And if you don't need to earn as much, you can pay yourself smaller amounts so you pay even less tax. And paying less tax means more income for you to do what you want and when you want to do it. And this is why I think everybody should be focusing on getting themselves into a mortgage-free position. So you have a very comfortable, desirable base that you can be very, very proud of. And it's something that you can talk about and demonstrate how good of a trader, investor, developer you actually are. Because the proof in the pudding is in the eating. And I think a lot of where people live and their own home speaks absolute miles for their investment strategy, their desirability, and how good they actually are in the investing world. And unlike these gurus and property training companies that keep popping up on mine and your newsfeed, you will have a choice to, if you ever wanted to, put a mortgage on that property or not. And it puts you way above what they are telling you, which is to never ever consider this. And the reason why they aren't telling you that is because they don't know. They don't know that this is a more viable strategy. This is a better way to direct your investment strategies and goals. And then if you fast forward to 10, 20 years time when you are literally looking to retire and wind down, or you physically can't do any more because you're too old and your body doesn't function as much as it used to, you will be in a position where you don't have a mortgage. Exactly in the same position as Joe round the corner who's been paying off his monthly mortgage every single month for the last 30 years. But unlike Joe, you'll also have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience, and a huge amount of wealth on your balance sheet. Because you've been investing your spare money, using mortgages, using bridging loans for your buy-to-let portfolio. Very, very entrepreneurial and very, very savvy. And you've now got a very nice portfolio where the income is so sufficient, so large that if you chose to, you could pay off individual mortgages on individual properties based on 1 month's worth of cash flow. And I think that is a really powerful message and a far more sensible way to focus your direction and your strategies on getting mortgage-free, lots of good cash flow and generating properties. The cash flow is so strong, it can pay off 1 property mortgage a month if you wanted to. Large chunks of equity, large balance sheets within your portfolio, and overall, you are in a very, very strong position. So that is my video on why you shouldn't pay down your mortgage early, but you should absolutely try to get mortgage free as soon as physically possible in the way that I've talked about today. But look, that's it from me. Hope you found the content rich, and I'll catch you all on the next video.